just a tragic event, and no one deserves to die, let alone at the hands of their abuser.
A single mom working as a server, murdered at work. The horrific crime witnessed by Allie Hill's coworkers and customers. I'll tell you about Allie Hill, how she's being remembered, and the man accused of her senseless murder. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. You know, Alyssa Hill was loved by many people. She had a lot of friends, and she had a daughter and a son. Alyssa went by Allie, so that's what I'm going to call her here. Allie was hardworking. She worked as a server at a popular chili restaurant in Norwood, Ohio. That's a small city surrounded by the city of Cincinnati. Skyline Chili is a Cincinnati institution. There are locations all over. It's the kind of place where you walk in, sit down, order a cheese coney, that's a hot dog and a bun, covered in chili and topped with cheddar cheese. You can also get a three-way, chili on top of spaghetti. It's a uniquely Cincinnati thing, and it's really popular. Service is fast and friendly. I tell you this not to talk about food, but to paint a picture for you of what was going on when Allie Hill was murdered. Allie was working one of her normal serving shifts on Tuesday, June 2nd. It was the lunch hour, just before noon. She worked 7 days a week. So this would be a really busy time at a Skyline Chili. Allie was putting in an order for a customer when the unthinkable happened. Norwood police say a man came into the restaurant armed with a knife and stabbed Allie Hill.
911, what is the location of your
We
emergency?
need someone at Skyline Chili in Norwood. A customer just came in and stabbed one of our waitress in the back and in the chest.
Okay, I'm getting it started over there.
Please, hurry!
Montgomery Road. Is this a female, you said?
Skyline in Norwood.
Okay, ma'am, I got them on the way. 458
Oh,
Montgomery
God.
Road in Skyline in Norwood. Is she breathing?
Right now, but I think I don't know.
Okay, you said she was stabbed in the chest.
In the chest and in the back.
Come over here. Where is the person who stabbed her?
She's been down in the dining room.
Okay, was it a male or female that stabbed her?
It was a no. It was her ex-boyfriend.
Okay, is he still in there?
No, he ran out.
Okay, did you see which direction he had gone?
He ran out the door and people ran after him.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
Hi. I'm located at the Norwood Skyline in Norwood. We have this lady just got stabbed. The girl just got stabbed. The man, he just ran out the door. We don't know where he's at.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have already called the Skyline in Norwood. There's been a stabbing.
Okay, is she conscious?
They need an ambulance. I don't know. I'm at the drive-through window.
You're at the drive-through?
Yeah, there needs to be an ambulance, please, someone.
Okay,
the guy ran away.
We do have him on their way. Do you know what he looked like?
No, I don't. There were several people that ran out trying to chase him.
Okay.
And I just hear people screaming inside.
Okay, all right. There's a lot of calls coming in, so I'll go ahead and disconnect and update them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I played just a few clips from the 911 call. There are portions that I'm just simply not going to play for you where the dispatcher tells a young woman how to try to help Allie until EMTs arrive. It's horrific. That last caller said that people chased the man who stabbed Allie out of the restaurant. Norwood police found the man they believe stabbed Allie Hill. His name is Wright. He's 37 years old and lived in Norwood. The prosecutor's office confirmed that Wright was Allie's ex-boyfriend. Court records show that Wright, he's a convicted felon. He'd served time for robbery, and he'd also been picked up for drug trafficking in the past. In December 2025, he was indicted for assaulting a police officer, but it doesn't appear that Wright showed up for court. That same month, Wright was charged with violating his probation because he hadn't shown up for a check-in and failed to attend court-ordered treatment. A friend of Allie Hill's told Law&Crime.com that Allie had dated Wright for just a short time, maybe 3 or 4 months, and there were red flags. Allie had a feeling that Wright might be obsessive. Brooke Crawford said Allie hadn't talked to Wright in a year as far as she knew and did everything she should have done as a victim of domestic violence. But there weren't any requests for protective orders or anything like that. Despite the best efforts of Allie's coworkers and EMTs, she could not be saved. Allie Hill, a 27-year-old mother to 2 young children, a daughter and a son, died. She was murdered. Her life stolen from her, police say, by a man she dated for only a short time. A GoFundMe for Allie's children says she worked 7 days a week and was the breadwinner for her family. She worked hard to provide for her children, and she was caring for her father, who was ill. She was actually trying to raise money for a van to take him to medical appointments when she was murdered. Allie's mom passed away somewhat recently, and her family is now enduring another tragedy, the murder of Allie, and they're working to care for her 2 beautiful children. The Skyline Chili in Norwood was closed on Wednesday, June 3rd, but will reopen. Outside of the restaurant, that's usually bustling with customers and staff, sit pots of flowers and messages of support to Allie's family and friends. People stop by to grieve, still stunned over what happened.
Something told me when we went to go get lunch for my children that I needed to stop here and I needed to pray for her. And not only her children, and for the justice system to open their eyes and do something this time, to hold him accountable so that the rest of the abusers in the world see that you can't just walk free from something like this. And I just started praying and tears started flying like I knew her, but it's all I'm doing here today is praying for her. Each time we came in here, she was kind, she was respectful, she treated my children with love as if she knew them, and she didn't personally know them. It's just a tragic event, and no one deserves to die, let alone at the hands of an abuser. It's my heart. That's babies that no longer have a mom that was working hard to give them what they needed. It's not right, it's not okay. And until this world figures out what has to be done to help them, it's going to keep happening.
You said you work at a domestic violence shelter.
Yes, I do. I cannot disclose any locations, but yes, I do.
But you are familiar with domestic violence.
It's a very evil cycle. It's disturbing. There's women that beg for help. The most dangerous thing you can do is leave and ask for help, to disclose the kind of behaviors they're treating you with. It's just a dangerous situation all the way around, but our goal is to put them in a safe location until they get back on their feet and get them far away from where their abusers. Sad, sad cycle.
I also spoke with a man who worked next door to the Skyline Chili, and he was a frequent customer.
Well, I didn't know who it was at first. I saw it on Facebook that there was an incident at the Skyline Chili, and I said, oh wow. But then I heard that somebody was stabbed, and then it found out that somebody, had died, but I didn't know who it was until they mentioned her, and when I saw that, yeah, it kind of messed me up, because she was a sweetheart, and she spoke to everybody. She came in, it was, just a real nice person.
So you ate here frequently?
All the time.
All the time?
Yes, they would get my order ready before I came into the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how much I ate there. They knew exactly what I was going to get.
Rick Wright was booked into the Hamilton County Justice Center on charges of aggravated murder, and felonious assault in Allie's death. He's now been indicted on those same charges. He's being held without bond. All right, so let's dig a little more deeply into this case, a horrific case with Mark Weaver. He works as a prosecutor in the state of Ohio, also sits as a judge at times. Mark, I just thought of you when I thought of this case, because you've prosecuted so many cases over the years, and we have Rick Wright accused of walking up to his ex-girlfriend in her place of work and stabbing her. I mean, what does that say to you as a prosecutor?
First of all, as a person, it's just a horrible crime. From what I've read, this woman was doing everything right. She was raising children. She was trying to pay her bills by making a living. And we have now, apparently, this crazy man comes and kills her. So it's horrific. But when it's done in a place like this, as a prosecutor, the first thing I think about is witnesses. Right? So many of the crimes I've worked on over the years have been just the victim and the suspect, and maybe no other witnesses. A lot of my sex prosecutions have been he said, she said. When you kill somebody in a busy restaurant like a Skyline, there's going to be witnesses, and that's going to make the case a lot easier to prove.
Much easier to prove. And, the talk on social media is that I mean, Allie was putting in an order. She's just doing her job, working her shift, putting in an order, and Rick Wright walked up and stabbed her in the back. Uh, I'm sure it was busy. I mean, the Skyline in Norwood, Ohio, is a pretty busy place. It's along a well-traveled road. Skylines are just like these quick turn restaurants where you go in, you sit, you get your cheese coney and your three-way or whatever you're going to eat, and then you're out. So they turn the tables around really quickly. So this had to be just absolutely. I mean, I can't imagine what Allie's family and her children are going through and her father, but to these workers and the people who run the Skyline, just and the customers, a horrific event.
Yeah, every time we talk to witnesses of cases like this, there's a certain amount of PTSD because they've witnessed probably the most horrible thing they've ever going to see in their life. So the prayers and the condolences, of course, go to her father and her family, but every one of those people who saw this happen will remember this for most of, if not all of their life. And then we as prosecutors are going to call on them to come forward and describe that and then be questioned by a defense lawyer. And it can be an intimidating thing. So for some of these witnesses, they went there to get a coney dog, and now they're going to have this memory, and they're probably going to have to be called as witnesses, assuming this case goes to trial, which I think it might not, because the evidence is so strong that I imagine whichever defense lawyer takes the case will be racing to the prosecutor's office to make some sort of plea bargain.
In the state of Ohio, they have a murder charge that carries a sentence of 15 years to life, but they also have an aggravated murder charge. And that is a charge that applies when a crime is premeditated, but there are also some other things that play into that charge, some other requirements. And one of those is, the age of the victim, things of that nature. Do you see the prosecutor at grand jury bumping this up to an aggravated murder charge when presenting the case?
Yeah, from the face of it, it doesn't look like they will do that. If they did, it would be a great bargaining chip, because I've done this at least once or twice before, you indict as an aggravated murder and then you are willing to reduce it to murder, and you still get a murder conviction. So a lot of it will be fact dependent. I don't know how old this man is, but he's likely to go to prison for, I would suspect, 20 to 30 years. A lot of it depends on the judge. A lot of it depends on the prosecutor's agreement. But he needs to serve serious time. It's not going to be a death penalty eligible case. For those of your viewers who are thinking that there might be the death penalty, Ohio does have the death penalty. I've worked on death penalty cases. This would not qualify for the death penalty in Ohio.
This is a guy, though, who has quite the background. I mean, he had a probation violation, the court records show, for a misdemeanor assault, and apparently it was an assault on a police officer. He violated that probation, it looks like back in December from what the records are saying, but he was never picked up. That is a little bit surprising, and maybe it's because it was a misdemeanor. Cops have to maybe pick and choose when you have limited resources which cases get priority. He also has past convictions for other crimes. It just seems though, wow, if he had been picked up on that probation violation in December, maybe, depending on the judge, just maybe, he would still be locked up.
That's right. Most people think that when an arrest warrant is issued, that somehow the police leap into action and go comb the streets looking for somebody. That might be true for serious felony cases, and often is. On misdemeanor warrants, that's rarely true. There are just too many of them and too few police officers to go work them, particularly in a larger suburb like Norwood. What typically happens is a warrant is issued. It goes into the national system where when a police officer stops you for a traffic offense, they go back and they run your name. They're looking for warrants. And so this is why traffic enforcement is more than just about traffic safety. It's also about finding people who should be arrested behind bars because they have active warrants, like this person.
It's just a horrific case. I was shocked when I read it. I mean, the fact, if somebody is going into a restaurant with a weapon, and targeting a person, and it's a domestic violence situation. That just shows you this person does not care about themselves, does not care about the victim, and is willing to do anything. They have nothing to lose.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not popular with my defense lawyer friends when I make the following point. There are just a small percentage of people in the world who have agreed or somehow are willing to cause serious violence or death to others. We need to keep them behind bars for most of their life. That's to protect the rest of us. This is why I'm in favor of aggressive prosecution for violent crimes and long prison sentences. When we do that, we're keeping the people who've shown themselves to be the most dangerous away from the most vulnerable.
Yeah, it's really horrific, really an awful case. So you predict, and I think you're right, you predict eventually a guilty plea in this case. This guy's being held without bail right now. There's going to be another hearing on Friday, and maybe they will set a bond at that time. But, I mean, he already had a probation violation, wasn't showing up despite that probation violation for court or what have you. So, you know, it's going to be a high bond, whatever they set the bond at, it's going to be a high bond.
Yeah, in Ohio, the voters a few years ago amended the state constitution so that judges must take into account public safety when they set the level of a bond. So I agree with you. It's going to be a very high bond. He's not going to make bond. He's going to stay behind bars. And if there were the number of witnesses that we can infer there were, as I mentioned earlier, his defense lawyer is going to be eager to cut a deal, because if this goes to trial, the jury will be very moved against this defendant. They will do a very quick guilty plea. And depending on the judge, I would expect a sentence at the higher end of the possible punishment.
Yeah, just awful. Mark Weaver, thank you so much for making time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Angenette.
There's, of course, the GoFundMe that's been set up to help Allie's children, but also Skyline Chili has set up a fund to help Allie's children and her family. The restaurant put a statement out on Facebook. It says Skyline Chili is devastated by the loss of its longtime server, Allie Hill. The Norwood Skyline, owned by the Misla family, will donate 20% of the restaurant's sales for the week of June 8th through the 15th to an established fund that will directly benefit Allie's two children. Skyline Chili has contributed $25,000 to the fund. Our partners at Coca-Cola Consolidated have also contributed $25,000 to this fund. Thank you all for your prayers and support. Again, Rick Wright is being held without bond, and he is scheduled to appear back in court on Friday, June 5th. That's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.